Do I look handsome? Tell me I look pretty.
You look pretty. Episode 3. So what did we talk about last week? We spoke about going from hobbyist to side hustle. So it was only natural that we kind of talk about going from side hustle to full time. We'll talk a little bit about like how that happened for us, and hopefully there'll be some sort of relative information to you because our stories are quite different. So I guess that would be nice for you to lead on from there and tell us. How did that happen? Your sort of little bit of thoughts and processes through that.
Well, to be honest with you, I'd been taking on paid work for probably as like a side hustle for probably about 3 or 4 years now, something like that. And it just was getting to a point where I was virtually having 2 full-time jobs because in my previous job it was quite 40-hour week, 50-hour week, whatever you want to say. But then it was getting 20, 30-hour weeks with the other video work, and I was starting to have to turn down other video work because I outright did not have the time to do it, or I'd already used all my holiday time. And I'd been working with a client in the UK, in essence, that it was like 1 or 2 day jobs here and there. But they then offered me a bigger job in New York, New York, NYC, just to do some kind of like professional talking, not podcast, but videos. In essence,
they're kind of like video podcasts.
Yeah, video podcasts,
interview type. Podcast.
Interview stuff, which is really good stuff. And it was going to be the space of like 5 days, and I just couldn't. I couldn't take that much time off work, and it just kind of hit me. I was like, well, I'm at that point where I've had so much work in, like it gets to a point I've got to make a decision. I either knock it on the head or kind of focus on some smaller bits, or just do it. It has been on my mind for quite a while about going full time. Like I'd done it, obviously speaking to you and everything, and thought it could be something. And like you'd kind of introduced me to Jamie. Is it Jamie Brindle?
Jamie Brindle, yeah.
He is the G, isn't
great
he,
Instagram account to follow for freelancers.
It's for freelancers, and it's not necessarily about the video side of it. It is about the business side of it.
Yeah.
And it really helped me just because he kind of gave some fundamentals for me to consider anyway, was just like a savings net and how my workflow, like work had been and stuff. And with this job, it just kind of came, because it was a long, bigger job, I didn't have a savings nest at the time, but it just instantly allowed me, when I got paid for the job, to have that savings.
Have a buffer.
The buffer, which for me was something that I needed, that I always said, I need a buffer before I do it. And it was just like, oh, wow, big job, good pay,
it was
buffer.
Good.
Full, and I'm like there, and it literally just was like that. It just literally like that clicking for me, and I was like, great, that's it.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I think it was again to having to turn down work, and that wasn't because. Actually, it was very similar because I was a truck driver, like I said, and. They knew that I was doing the videography, and they knew I was pushing it and taking it quite seriously, and to be honest, we're fairly cool with it. But I had work come in, and it's like you put a holiday slip in. You seem like, I'll look at that later. And then you go in the next day, did you look at that holiday? And they're like, oh, no, like, talk to me later. And you've got a client offering you a job, and you're waiting days to get that. Or they would just go, no, someone else is off, therefore you can't have the time off. And to me, it wasn't about saying no to that job and losing the money. It was about the opportunities that came from that. So that's something to think about, is like, yes, you may lose X amount of money by not doing that job. But as you well know, one job generally leads on to another. And if you think about the clients you've got, you could probably trace them all back, that one came from that one, and that one came from them seeing that video on social media. So to me, I just thought, I'm not missing out on money here, I'm missing out on opportunity. And essentially, I just got to the point where I went to my boss and said, look, you either give me time off when I want, no questions asked, obviously I'm paid, I'm quite happy with that unless I got holiday, or I leave. And to be honest, it was quite weird because... he said, I tell you what, leave. He said, and then if you want, sign on to the driving agency. So if you don't know, an agency, you can basically just say to them, I'll work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. The rest of the week, I'm not taking any days. So he got me to sign with this agency, and I left the job on Friday.
Yeah.
I was back in on Monday
With the agency.
covering my job in my old truck for more money per hour, which didn't go down well. No. But the flexibility of saying, oh, I can't work this week because I've got a shoot. So it was ideal. So, you know, if you're in a profession that has some sort of employment agencies where you can do that. I mean, I know your partner Bev is on an agency with nursing, so she can pick and choose her hours. So although that wasn't an option for you, it was an option for me, and I didn't have a buffer like you did. I just had the safety net of picking and choosing when I worked, and then slowly but surely it got to the point where I wasn't doing much driving, and then to the point where I just realised after about 6 months, I actually haven't driven on the agency for ages. So it was a slow, transitional, journey for me in that sense. But it was great. So, you know, what other tips would you give someone who's maybe, you know, in a different situation to us? You know, maybe they haven't got a buffer, or, you know.
Yeah, well, again, I took this from your guy Jamie. I think some insecurities of going into it, which helped me then kind of get around it, was the fact that because for me, I had that safety net from this job that I was quite lucky to do, but that whole consistency of money coming in from like a regular paid job was a massive thing for me. And you know, I've got 2 young kids, I've got a nice house that I'm really happy with, you know what I mean. And I felt that I wanted to take this transition and keep that standard. And the way I ended up dealing with it was is in essence analysing the work that I've had over the last couple of years,
right? Okay.
And kind of seeing, oh well, actually that's been regular. There has never been a month where I haven't taken, in essence, a second full-time wage from that. You know, obviously I've had to push for work. I've obviously actually get work and hopefully be decent at what I'm doing to get in that work. But I said to myself, if I just continue what I'm doing,
or at that point,
you'd
be all right.
I'd be right, because going back of the history of the 2-3 years of my work,
you realise I could manage on that if the other job was
exactly, you know, and
it's a good way of looking at it. I think you probably get used to having the extra income, don't you? And probably a bit more frivolous and more meals out and buying more things like camera gear. Yeah, that's a big money suck, but that's for another episode.
Indeed.
Especially Mitch, he likes to buy things.
There's a couple of things you always had to tell me to wind my neck in about it, really. Then
just stop spending. Yeah. And another thing is just looking at your outgoings. I mean, if you were to go through your direct debits in the house, you'd be going, what am I paying there for? Like, I saw one come through the other day, which was home. Mrs. like, what's home sale? I was like, that's boiler, insurance. And I've got that on my house insurance. So I was like, well, let's get rid of that. So those little bits where you could just cut down your earnings is obviously, is a little bit more of a safety net than just going, I'll just,
Well, it's taking a little bit more pressure off what your minimum has to be, doesn't it, to survive, to keep your family running and stuff like that. And it just all links back to, being as prepared as you can be to kind of to take that step.
That very big leap. Well, I say that, but I didn't feel like it was a massive leap at the time for me. Yeah. I felt very confident. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're brave," and you know what? Let's not undersell it. It is a big step to let go of a guaranteed salary to then being fully responsible for your own income, and clients and jobs to keep your family eating and breathing
and warm and clothed.
The beauty is when you do go full time, when you're not thinking about a full-time job, and this was definitely something you was worried about and something I kept saying to you, my experience was soon as I handed in my notice, all my focus was on the business. I wasn't thinking about going into work the next day and what I had to do there and being tired from that. All my energy went into this one thing, and that was going full-time and earning a living from it. And it was like a dog leg in a graph for me. It just went crazy. And I was like, what what the hell?
Yeah.
Although I didn't go full time straight away, like I say, I was on an agency. Once where is it? Where energy where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a cliche comment, but for me, it was just like, and the same happened to you. As soon as you quit, you're like, things definitely accelerated.
100%. I was like, I remember again, like another insecurity, thinking, what am I gonna do? What I know I've got to do stuff to make sure I hit a standard each month, or like, standard within like full time.
As in earnings.
Yeah, just in anything to do it. Like I've got to be proactive.
Yeah.
Doing. You know what I mean? And I was like, but what am I going to do? But
how am I going to do that?
How am I going to do it? But to me, it links from what you were saying in the sense of you then have that focus. You have got that time. You know the focus needs to be there, so you do.
Yeah.
So
sink or swim.
Yeah, sink or swim. And it just kind of like, okay, now I've got the focus. I have got to. And you just sit down and think, and you go, oh, okay, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. Or have those conversations.
You're posting more on social media.
Yeah,
you're talking more to clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the work's going up, obviously you're posting more content, which helps you get... Exactly. Like I said in a previous episode, just posting everything on social media. It's the same when you go full time. You know, the more you're posting, the more eyeballs on you, and
exactly.
The way it goes. It's amazing. Like I say, how things can change once you go
100%
all in. I will say though that once you go full time, it's the best thing ever.
100%.
But there are definitely some things you don't realise until you're in it. That you just don't think about, and that will lead us nicely into next week's episode when we actually talk about full-time realizations, where we'll have a little chat about things you just weren't prepared for and things to be prepared for. So hopefully you'll find that valuable as well. And I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
See you next time.
See ya.